come with me and we'll have a quick look around, because I'd love to show you the fruit trees and how well my veggie garden's going, considering that there still was a frost this morning. Loads of celery, which is so nice. Just pick a stem of celery, look at that. Silver beet, look how healthy, look how big and luscious. Lots of garlic spread out, lettuces, beetroots. We'll have a quick look at the other veggie gardens and then I'll show you the fruit trees. Chooks, the chooks are doing very well. I get about 3 eggs a day, sometimes 2, sometimes 3. Hello Barney, Annie Barney Velda. Hello Denny Boy Rooster, you're a bit fresh early in the mornings, aren't you? So I'm very happy with the way they're going. Of course I've got more eggs than I can eat, and again we're locked down, so no visitors, so nobody to give eggs to. Looking good, everything's looking good. I am going to save the seed from this daikon radish because I decided I quite like it. Spinach there, look at the leeks. All good, more fennel. Did anybody try? Did any of you try that fennel recipe with the orange zest and the orange juice? It's really good. Okay, first tree that you can see, the almond. Look at that. Isn't that lovely? This apricot, which is a recent one. Remember, I've only just got this apricot. I see that it has buds on it. And look at this. Oh, how beautiful. This is the first flower, the first flowers on the plum tree. So that is just going to be a mass of flowers really soon. This one's about to burst into flower, you can see there. Oh, look at that. Any minute. And this is the nectarine. So to add to the collection of stone fruit, there's now a peach tree. I did cut it back a bit, it was looking a bit slender. Cherry, not quite ready to do much, and neither are the others except for the quince. This is doing all right, you know what, and this tree, gosh, the winds that come straight towards this tree, and look at it. It's fine, it's actually the tallest one I've got. There's spurs on all of the pear trees, all 3. They'll be good. I think all I would like now really is, I think I'd like a couple of cooking apples. And oh, and this is in flower, look, the ancient cherry plum. Do you remember last year? And it was just, oh, it was just so beautiful, wasn't it? With all the flowers and then all the fruit. Look, you can see there's bees in it now. So welcome back, bees. Even though it was frosty this morning, it seems like spring has sprung. The mouse house is now here. Doesn't need to be here where it was because now I have solar on Tin Hut Tiny House, so I don't need a lead from the van anymore. Everything is wonderful inside the van, as always. This is the tank that I bought for $50, which I thought was a real bargain. And today I'm going to work with George, my friend George, and we're going to make sure it's waterproof. So, good morning, George.
Morning.
So, it was sort of leaking through where there's these little bolts, and they are rods that go right through. So we're going to take all these bolts out and reseal it. Okay, so there was no real holes in it as such.
No.
I thought I'd show the process of doing this in case you see a tank yourself. How big's this one, George, do you think? About 2,000 litres?
Yeah, about 2.
About 2,000 litres, and for $50, that was such a bargain, wasn't it?
Oh, it was brilliant.
What's next, George?
Oh, I finished taking out the rods.
Taking out the rods. Okay, we need a socket.
Yep.
And undo them. you get the drift, this is what we're doing. Taking the bolts out, taking the rods out, putting new ones in and resealing it. And that's the way it goes.
Yep.
That's the idea, isn't it? We take all these out, we take all the rods out, replace, seal, and it should be good.
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's keep going. Sorry, there's not much seal.
Yep.
Ah, and that's why there was leaking from the bolts.
Yep.
And we got a cheap tank. Well, I did. Thank you very much for being there with your trailer. That was brilliant. Oh, there we go. George is cutting out the hole a bit bigger because I don't fit. That's pretty noisy, isn't it? You know, nicely amplified in an empty tank. Anyway, that's what's happened there. So I just thought I'd get away for a minute and come back.
Yep.
That noise was making a hole in the top a bit bigger here. What tool did you use for that, George?
Nibbler.
A nibbler. A nibbler. A noisy little nibbler. But anyway, it's made the hole round and it's made it bigger.
Yep.
So one or other of us now is going to go inside, and I bet George wants to. Bet you want to, don't you, George? So now the ladder fits in. Would you like me to go down inside there, George?
Never to be seen again.
Oh no, not only am I going to have a tank full of water, but there'll be a floating George. Ah! Somewhere down there, there's a rod. Okay, you right there, George?
Oh, good.
See, I'm the safety person.
I think we just got to widen these holes just a fraction. Yep.
Oh, really? Better to be tight, isn't it?
But it's got to go through the other side, so I've just got to widen them just a fraction.
So apart from the one hole that was obviously leaking, which is why I managed to buy this so cheaply, the others were pretty tight, so just checking that the rod will go through. White, gold, nut.
Yep.
In that order.
Yep. Silicon's got to go on the tank,
On the tank, yes.
and then we seal them from there on around.
Okay, so we're going to start at the bottom, George.
Start at the bottom and work our way up.
All right.
I've got to put the nuts and washers on it first before we pull it through, because it's got to have nuts and washers on the inside.
Okay. It's quite a process, but actually it's not taking that long.
I'm going down, never to be seen again.
Oh, you said that last time. And then we saw you. He's down in there somewhere. Whoop, there, here comes a ladder. Nuts, washers of various sorts. You've got a shifter, there's a shifter.
Yep.
And I'm on the outside doing the same. You just let me know when.
I'll get the inside set up, then I'll tell you what to do on the outside.
Anyway, this is what's happened. George was on the inside and he's put the same neoprene brass and then nuts on the inside of this rod, and I've done it on the outside, on the other side. But the tricky bit here was with this sticking out. So far it's very difficult to use the shifter in there because we've got these ridges, and then later on these are cut off. And the reason why they're not cut off first is because you might end up with it not being the correct thread, and we've got a longer socket now, which might be helpful.
So when we put the next one through, wind the nut up to about here,
Yeah.
and then just cut behind the nut. I've got the grinder,
Oh my gosh.
and then you just put that on it and wind it up.
This one that's here now, George is putting the neoprene, a bigger washer, and then the nut, because this hole was bigger. So if a person didn't have much money, what they could do was just silicone round the holes that were still kind of the right size, and new washers silicone, brass and then a nut. But this one, that was a much bigger hole, you'd need a bigger rod and then put a bigger washer on the outside after you'd silicone to make sure that it's nicely sealed. So you could get away with just one rod, one bigger rod to fill the hole that's already bigger. Apparently that had pulled right through with the nut still on it. So you could get away with one bigger rod and bigger washers and just seal all the rest. You could give that a try if you didn't have the money right now to replace all the rods. Give the man a shed and he'll fill it.
Because all you do is just
Look at that. When you cut your hole a bit bigger so you can get in, all you need is a garbage bin lid to fit the new bigger hole. What a beautiful day. All done, both sides, siev's done, little bits of metal holding it on, downpipe's done, tank at the bottom's done. Thank you very much, George.
my pleasure.
Actually, before I go in and have a nice cup of tea, I thought I would show you the tank that I fixed with George and where it is and what happened. Okay, so here's the tank, and doesn't it look fantastic? You can see where the replaced bits and pieces is well and truly sealed. I believe some water has gone in. Yesterday this floor was absolutely soaking and rain was dripping through because it can come through these where the tin overlaps. Well, it hasn't happened now, but I don't know if I want to live with a piece of wood up the middle, but I don't know, it's working. Okay, yesterday we finished the shed. Now the shed has a new roof. The tin on the roof was just too thin, so now we have this really tough stuff, and the tank has water in it. So this is the end of the story, I suppose. From the mending of the tank, we now have the tank in place, we have a fantastic roof. Okay, so I think that's kind of it.